Tonight, you're going to open your banking app. You're going to look at the number. You're going to promise yourself that this month will be different. It won't be. Not because you're weak. Not because you're lazy. Not because you lack discipline. The real answer is far stranger. Your brain was never built to save money at all. Think about the last time you tried to stick to a budget. You probably lasted a few weeks, maybe a few days. Then something happened. A friend invited you out. A sale appeared in your inbox. A bad day demanded a reward. And the money was gone. You blamed yourself. Everyone does. But here's the part almost nobody tells you. Your brain is running software that is nearly 200,000 years old. And that software was never designed for a world where value can sit quietly in a bank account, untouched for decades. Picture your ancestors on the African savanna. Food didn't keep. Meat rotted within days. A kill had to be eaten, shared, or lost. There was no refrigerator. There was no vault. There was no future-proof way to store resources for later. So evolution built a brain that prized immediate consumption over distant reward. Why plan for a winter you might not survive to see? Why hoard when hoarding invited thieves, rivals, or simple spoilage? The smartest move for hundreds of thousands of years was to use what you had right now while you still could. This is where behavioral economist Richard Thaler enters the story. Thaler spent decades studying why humans make irrational financial choices, and he kept finding the same pattern. People consistently valued a reward today over a much larger reward tomorrow, even when the math clearly favored waiting. He called this present bias. It isn't a character flaw. It's a default setting. Your brain assigns enormous weight to right now and almost none to a version of you that exists 6 months from today. Here's where it gets stranger. That future version of you. Your brain barely recognizes them as you at all. Neuroscientist Hal Hershfield ran brain scans on people while they thought about their future selves. He found something remarkable. The brain regions that activate when you think about yourself were nearly silent when people imagined who they'd be in 10 years. Instead, those regions lit up the way they do when you think about a stranger. Read that again. When you picture future you, your brain treats that person like someone else entirely. Someone you've never met. Someone whose needs feel abstract, distant, easy to ignore. Now the savings problem makes a different kind of sense, doesn't it? You're not failing to save money for yourself. You're being asked to sacrifice for a stranger with no face, a stranger who won't say thank you, a stranger who feels less real than the coffee in your hand right now. Your ancestors never had to solve this problem. There was no retirement account for the future stranger. There was no 30-year mortgage. There was no compound interest ticking silently upward while you slept. Every resource decision they made was immediate. Eat now, share now, trade now, survive now. The idea of delaying gratification for a version of yourself decades away simply didn't exist in their world, because most people didn't live long enough for that gap to matter. So when you feel that pull to spend the money sitting in your account, understand what's actually happening. You are not weak-willed. You are running an ancient survival algorithm in a modern financial system it was never designed for. The algorithm says use it now, because tomorrow is never guaranteed. The modern world says wait, because tomorrow is almost always guaranteed, and the version of you that arrives there will need resources too. There's a second piece to this puzzle, and it comes from psychologist Walter Mischel. You've probably heard of his famous experiment. Children were left alone with a single marshmallow and a promise. Wait 15 minutes without eating it, and you'll get a second marshmallow. Some children waited. Many did not. For years, people used this study to argue that self-control was a fixed trait, something you either had or didn't. But later research complicated that story. Children who trusted the adult keeping the promise waited longer. Children who had learned through experience that promises about the future often broke, ate the marshmallow immediately. Because why wait for a reward you don't believe is coming? Sound familiar? If your early experience of money was unstable, if paychecks were unpredictable, if promises about later rarely held up, your brain learned a lesson that has nothing to do with discipline. It learned that later is a lie. It learned that the only guaranteed resource is the one in your hand right now. That lesson doesn't disappear just because your income changes as an adult. The nervous system remembers. This is why financial advice like, just spend less so often fails. It treats saving as a math problem. Income minus expenses equals savings. Simple, right? Except your brain isn't doing math. It's running a threat assessment shaped by millions of years of scarcity and, for many people, reinforced by years of real instability. Telling someone to simply try harder is like telling someone afraid of heights to simply stop being afraid. The fear isn't the problem. It's the output of a system working exactly as designed. So what actually helps? Hirschfield's research offers a clue. In one experiment, he showed people age-progressed images of their own faces, digitally aged to look decades older. People who saw their future selves this way chose to put significantly more money into retirement savings than those who didn't. Something about seeing that stranger's face and realizing it was still, somehow them, closed the gap. The future became less abstract. The stranger became familiar. This is the real lesson hiding underneath the failed budgets and the broken promises to yourself. Saving money isn't primarily a math problem or a discipline problem. It's a relationship problem. It's about how connected you feel to a person who doesn't exist yet, who will one day open their eyes and inherit every decision you make today. Ancient humans never needed to build that relationship because their future selves rarely required anything from them. Your future self is asking for something entirely new in the story of your species. Patience across decades. Trust in a promise with no immediate proof. Every time you manage to set money aside, you're doing something your ancestors' brains were never built to do easily. You're reaching across time and taking care of a stranger who happens to share your name. That isn't weakness when it doesn't work. That's an ancient mind meeting a modern demand it never evolved to expect. So tonight, when you open that banking app again and you look at the number, try seeing it differently. You're not failing a test of willpower. You're negotiating with a 200,000-year-old brain on behalf of someone it doesn't yet recognize as you. And the next time you manage to leave that money untouched, know exactly what you did. You didn't just save. You introduced yourself to a stranger who was you all along.